So the fact is, we need to build an international movement, right? The Deep Green Resistance movement was founded here in the United States. But the reality is, most of us who live here, even those of us who are left-wing, who are radicals, who are revolutionaries, we don't recognize just how right-wing this country is and how conservative the United States of America is as a place to live. And the impacts that that has on our radical organizing are many. But perhaps they're biggest in regards to what's been called the Overton window. And the Overton window is the range of acceptable debate within a society. And so the most extreme left or progressive views, the most extreme right or conservative views that are acceptable on any given issue or any given topic in the society. That's the Overton window. So we live in a society in which the Overton window is beginning to shift on a few major issues. For example, universal health care, and possibly some form of universal education. But although that one's much further away than healthcare at the moment. But so the window of acceptable debate on these topics has shifted. A while back, people would talk about, anyone who would bring up single-payer healthcare in a serious American political debate would be laughed out of the room, and that is changing. But the reality is that on most issues in this country, whatever we're talking about, capitalism, imperialism, consumerism, education, all of these issues are framed in an extremely right-wing manner. So that's in contrast to other areas around the planet where there exists a much more robust left tradition. Left to revolutionary tradition than there does in this country. I mean, in the United States we have the tradition of the 1960s, but in most of the rest of the world, the ideological traditions that were sort of blooming, the revolutionary traditions that were blooming in the 60s, they didn't get defeated and quashed like they did here. They actually won representation in governments and have a greater degree of representation in the society. So, I don't mean to overstate the revolutionary potential in other countries, but the fact is there is some. Whereas here in the United States, it just doesn't exist. It's not something that is in the cultural lexicon, the cultural vocabulary. And, the repercussions of this for organizing, as I said, Deep Green Resistance was founded here in the United States, and trying to send out as radical a message as we are in this extremely right-wing context is fucking hard. We've been battling to make progress on our ideas here, and with good reason, based on the situation that we're in. It makes sense that it's extremely difficult. And, we've seen the rising political trends in this country are extreme right-wing populism based around racism and deregulation, and on the left this progressive populist tone exemplified by Bernie Sanders and that wing of the Democratic Party that represents a change from what we have seen in this country thus far, but a shift to really a more moderate, centrist political agenda rather than the extremely right-wing agenda. So, I think in some senses that polarization could be a good thing because it's shifted the debate in this country, like I said. But the reality is that the political development of people in the United States is extremely, it's sad, really, it's sad. People do not understand the issues, they don't discuss the issues, they don't, just what's acceptable, what people are raised to believe is true in this society is pretty extreme. The amount of propaganda that we're undergoing, the amount of digital noise, distraction that is being put out into the world to seduce people into addictions and self-gratification over, dealing with serious political community issues. We've been infantilized, really. And so I think that we need to start thinking about moving abroad, becoming expats. I think more people in Deep Green Resistance and in political struggles generally need to move out of this country, move elsewhere in the world, begin participating in and radicalizing political movements there, allying with existing revolutionary forces and building new ones, rather than continuing to, wail away at a brick wall with her bare fists here. And the reality is that those social programs that a lot of other countries have make that work more possible. Because if you've got your free health care and you have a guaranteed access at education, your definition of poverty is going to be different than it is in this country. It's going to be different. You're not struggling to the same degree, so even average people have more energy, more time, more opportunity, more lack of fear, basic fear, which allows them to take part in more serious struggles and pour their energy into what they actually believe in. So I think it's something to consider. And it's something that I want to consider more in my own life. So I'm interested to hear what others think, so let me know.